What's our defense against drive-bys? I'm going to use some letters that you hear the kids use a lot when they start talking about texting and Twittering and all this stuff. You hear the kids say this. They say, my BFF. And you hear them say that a lot. And another three initials you used to hear a lot when the war was going on was WMDs. Well, that's our defense against drive-bys. You got a BFF and WMD. BFF means blood of Jesus, fenced by Jesus, and faith in Jesus. So, when we start talking about this, for the blood, we want to turn to Exodus chapter 12. And then we're going to be moving on. Exodus chapter 12. And verses 22 and 23. Exodus chapter 12 and verses 22 and 23. And it says this, it says, drain each lamb's blood into a basin. Then take a cluster of hyssop branches and dip it into the lamb's blood. Strike the hyssop against the top and sides of the door frame, staining it with the blood. And remember, no one is allowed to leave the house until morning. For the Lord will pass through the land and strike down the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top and sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home, and he will not permit the destroyer to enter and strike down your firstborn. Remember the scene in the Ten Commandments with Moses? And he told him basically, you're covered by the blood. And so right then it said, how are we protected from these drive-bys? One thing you just say, as long as I stay under the blood. And when I'm covered by the blood and I stay under the blood, no harm can come to me. But you notice what God said. He said, do not come out from under the blood. And so what did the devil tell Jesus? The first thing he told him to do, he said, come out from under your protection that the Father has given you. Protection from the drive-by. Stay in Jesus. Stay under the blood, because Jesus gave his blood on the cross. And that blood covers all who believe in him. And so when you believe in him, drive-bys will not have an effect on you because you are covered by the blood. The other thing we say, well, make sure we are fenced by Jesus. And go back to the book of Job. Job chapter 1. And so right then, God automatically tells us that Satan will do drive-bys. But then Satan tells you that he can't do or commit a drive-by on the people of God for a particular reason. So see, when if you sit there and you listen, the devil himself will tell you how you protect yourself against him. Job chapter 1, and read verse 9 and 10. Somebody. Rachel got it.
Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Does Job
You notice? The devil even tells you right then, he said, I can't do a drive-by on your children when you have them hedged in. I can't touch them because you've placed a wall of protection around them. New Living Translation said like this, Satan replied to the Lord, yes, Job fears God, but not without good reason. You have always protected him and his home and his property from harm. You have made him prosperous in everything he does. Look how rich he is. And so he's saying, I can't touch who God protects. Remember what Jesus said? He said, whoever my Father holds in his hand, no one can pluck out. And so as long as you stay within your protection, remember what the old folks used to say when you had that hedge and that fence around the house? And there was a street. I know my aunt them had a house with a fence in front, but they always had the street. They say, stay inside that fence. As long as you'll stay in the yard, you're all right. But you step outside into that street, they would say this, be careful because a car could come by and hit you. That's a drive-by. God is saying as long as you stay inside his protection, they can't harm you with a drive-by. They can shoot and they can do all they want, but as long as you stay inside where your protection is, can't no harm come to you. And you notice even that there's certain places that the gangs won't go to do drive-bys. When they know that that area is protection, if it's whether it's a neighborhood watch or whatever, and they know there's protection there, they're not going to go there. If they come by and they see police officers, they see some type of protection, they'll come by, but they won't shoot. They'll drive straight by. That's what God's done. He hedges us in. That's our protection. The other F, when we talk about faith in Jesus. And turn to Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. And we know that that's the chapter of faith. And when we look at that, he gives us a whole history and a background of what occurs involving those who are people who have faith in Jesus, who have faith in the Lord. Hebrews 11 and verses 32 through 34. And this is what it says. And what shall I say more? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah and of David also and Samuel and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Break it down simple like this. The faith of Daniel protected him in the lion's den. The faith of the Hebrew boys sheltered them in the fire furnace. The faith that Jesus had protected him from harm and danger when they wanted to harm him. All of those people, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, when troubles came upon them, their faith kept them safe from drive-bys. Faith keeps you. It protects you. That's what it does. And the last thing we said, well, the WMDs, we're not talking about weapons of mass destruction, which is what the devil tries to use. But when we say WMD, we're talking about a word for manhandling drive-bys. And Jesus gave us that word. And so turn to Luke chapter 10. Luke chapter 10. and verses 17 through 19. Luke chapter 10 and verses 17 through 19. And this is what Jesus said. He had sent all his disciples out to do the works of the kingdom. And we're going to read, it says this. He said, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. So you know what Jesus already said. You have a word that protects you from drive-bys. And he showed us, because that's the first thing he told the devil. When the devil said, if thou be the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. And what did Jesus say? He said, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That's your drive-by protection. Your BFF, your blood of Jesus, fenced by Jesus, faith in Jesus, and then the word for manhandling drive-bys. He said, I've already given you power over the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. And so we're going to leave with this. It's an old song that the old saints used to use, and you can use this as your drive-by anthem. And remember this. It says, Jesus be a fence all around me every day. Jesus, I want you to protect me as I travel on my way. I know you can. I know you will. Fight my battles if I keep still. Lord, be a fence all around me every day. That's your anthem. That's your anthem right there.